Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the fourth of our spring series workshops. We're putting a nice bow tie on it with helping you be a bit effective about the things that you're trying to get done in your working business life. So today's workshop is all around what a lot of people would frame as time management. I like to think about it as personal effectiveness because time management feels like it's some big octopus we're trying to shove into a jar, as opposed to personal effectiveness is all about you and what you're choosing to do. So we hope you get a lot out of today's session. You will get some resources and the slides sent through to you off the back of it. And yeah, you feel free to chime in with any questions while we're going through. Otherwise, I'm going to do the bulk of the talking and Robin will chime in from time to time. So a little bit of an intro about us. So I'm Alana. I'm the talk with your hands half of your success team. And my wonderful co-founder, Robin, is the numbers practical operational guru. So we're all about helping you get multiple eyes, multiple expertise, diversity of thought on your business for just the one price tag. So across all of our programs, you get to harness a whole lot of thinking rather than just one person's thinking. And that we know is the power to really shift your business. We do it all with a massive lens around common sense, practical, and simplifying all of the concepts. So hopefully you'll find that as we go through today. And this is a bit of a teaser, a bit of a taster of some of what we cover in our Success Circle and Success Squad programs, which I'll give you a little bit of information about just at the end as we wrap up. So let us get into it. Personal effectiveness. Right from the outset, I'm just going to say it's more than just a cool system for your to-do list. I think there's a whole industry around, making your Trello look totally zhuzhy, or using all the productivity apps in the world. I prefer to come at this from much more of a psychological basis. A lot of times our busyness or the stuff that stops us from getting things done is actually ourself rather than our systems, which is not to say that there's not a place for systems. It's just, I think if we start with ourselves first, we get an awful lot of wins quite quickly. So today, what we're going to cover is the importance of understanding what's really important in your business to make progress, some tools that will help you do that more efficiently, a couple of review and reflection techniques that we both use and find really helpful, and some tips on protecting your mindset so that you can avoid the overwhelm. And that's one of the things that we see as being one of the biggest drivers of busyness for clients that we work with and business owners in general. What I'd like to say is that you're human. So this is totally natural that this feels hard being effective. I don't think all of us have an always on mode where we're always getting 100% right. Across the years, I have tried and thrown out systems, started again. I have days where I go, I'm just going to go for a walk because that's the right thing to do. So I would just like to preface this by saying you're human and this feels quite hard sometimes, especially in a world which would like to reward us for being busy. I think so often we say hello to someone that we perhaps haven't seen for a while, how you going? And I'm going to say probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, the answer is good, busy, but good. And that's now our narrative for a life well lived. And so that busyness as a badge of honor then makes us feel a little bit out of whack if we're not busy on the hamster wheel. So when we watch people and find them in spin out mode or busy mode, it normally stems from not being clear on what you actually need to be doing to move your business forward. And some of that can be really deep, like you might not be really connected to your business why, your own personal mission. There's lots of buzzwords around it. But if you're not clear on why you're showing up at your desk or in your shop or on the tools every day, it can be then quite hard to go, well, what's the thing I want to do? You can also feel kind of like out of alignment because you're bored or you're feeling a bit icky or, there's some things that you've got to do to drive your business forward that you don't have skills for yet, you don't like doing, or you don't feel that they're an area of strength. And as humans, when we have those situations, we always will look for something else to do. Mine is to go and make a cup of tea. I'm like, oh, I've got to do some zero reconciliation. I'm going to go and make a cup of tea. We've all got our own way that this plays out. But it basically comes from we feel a bit uncomfortable. Cue, go and get something else that's going to, distract us for a bit. The other couple of things, and these are quite linked, not making enough time to decompress. So staying in busy mode so that you don't get time for deep work, deep thinking, clearing space in your diary so that you can actually do the things that are strategically really important for your business. And then that creates a feeling of overwhelm because you're staying in hamster mode. You're really focused on all the things you've got to get done without slowing down because you haven't built in the space to slow down, to decompress, to see what it is that's really, really important. So those are kind of like the top themes we see. And then how that plays out is because we're human, as we sit down and we're not really excited, we're not in our flow. And so we will do anything else we can to get that dopamine hit. Mine, like I said, cup of tea, you know, other people it's walk the dog, other people it's check what's happening on Instagram. And so we get the reward of feeling like we did something. It chews up some time in our diary, but we're not going to get results. What's yours, Robin?
I think mine would be, I will often avoid things that are the deep thinking things. So I find it easier to do the easy stuff. Yes. Which other people may not find that those particular things are easy, but they're things that I find easy and enjoy. So I will use them and the busyness of that to go, I don't have time to do the big stuff. So mine's a real avoidance situation I have going. And my other huge barrier to my time effectiveness is a very poor ability to estimate how long it's going to take me to do something. So I will tend to think I have to allow myself, well, not enough time normally. So
yes, it's either one or the other, hey.
Yeah,
and we're going to get into that a little bit later, hey, because we've seen that play out, it's human nature. You can either grossly overestimate so you freak out, or you grossly underestimate and so then you're slamming for a deadline, for example, or feeling like you're letting everybody down. So yeah, I think this is a great sort of initial first pause to just stop and think, for you guys live and on the replay, what form does your busyness take? And if you're really honest and you're thinking about those themes that we see play out, what would be the cause for you? So while you're thinking about that, we're just going to put a caveat around small progress is really, really important here. I'm a big believer in incremental 1% shifts will make you a really, really effective person when stacked up over time. And that creates a really, really amazing business. And we've got 6 tips that we're going to get into now that hopefully are really going to help you. Just get a few little tools in your belt that you can start chipping away at. So one that we both really, really love and we find really resonates with clients and businesses that we work with is all around big rocks. This is a concept that originated from Stephen Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you haven't read it or audibled it, I would definitely recommend it. It is a really lovely, brilliant at life, brilliant at business kind of foundational book. But essentially, in life and in business, we have big rocks. And if you think about your life as a jar, if you're going to fill it with the little things, then you're never going to find time for the big rocks. And so therein, your jar gets filled with sand or little rocks, and it's not actually the big rocks. And so big rocks tend to be, if we think about life, it's our health, it's our family, it's spending time with our loved ones. And quite often we see that stuff gets pushed out to the weekend. And then in business, big rocks is things like thinking about your strategy, building in time for reflection, making sure you've got strong systems that enable you for growth, building in time for forecasting and review. And quite often we're so busy that we think, oh, we'll just do that on the weekend. And then you get to the weekend and you've got no energy for it, so you don't do it and it skips out. And so what's really hard is the big rocks, to Robin's point, sometimes are the things that take us outside our comfort zone, or they're the things that we feel a bit greedy asking for because perhaps they're not to serve others as instantly. You know, it's quite nice replying to a text because then you feel like you've done something, and that would be a Sam's thing, arguably. So it can be really hard because we defer that instant gratification in favor of, planning. And it's not how our brains are wired. It doesn't generate the dopamine hit. It's not very sexy saying you're working on your planning. It's much easier to be busy. So this is a concept that I'd really recommend if you want. There's a really cool videos that you can find on YouTube that you can, really see that concept brought to life. But essentially, if you imagine if you had a jar and you filled it with big rocks, is the jar full? You could argue yes. However, then there's space that you can tip the little rocks in. Is the jar full? You could argue yes. And then you can tip it up with sand, shake it up, and actually you've really now got a compact full jar. And that's the concept. If you flipped it on its head, if you filled it with sand first, nothing else is going to go in. So hopefully that concept really makes sense. Like I said at the start, shout out if you've got any questions while we're going through, or for those of you on the replay. So that's big rocks. The other tool that we would recommend is around prioritization clarity. And this is, again, it's not a very sexy thing to do, to sit down and plan what's most important to do. But if you were to just do this, you'd be amazed. We continue to be amazed when we see people put this into practice. This is the one thing that they decide to shift in a month, and all of a sudden in a month they're feeling totally different about how they're running their business in their life. So this is a matrix called the Eisenhower matrix, and it's been around for a really long time. But essentially, you create a quadrant. You can do this with your to-do list. It's really awesome. And we're going to send out in our resources your own version of this that you can fill in. So essentially what you do is you look at all the things, or you think about all the things that are in your brain that you've got to do, and you put them into one of these 4 quadrants. So on your continuums, you've got urgent and not urgent, and you've got important and not important. What tends to happen is that we get tied up in the urgent but not necessarily important tasks. Those tend to be firefighting tasks, and some roles in some businesses have more firefighting than others. So what I would say is, when you're filling this in for yourself, if you find that an awful lot of stuff fits into that quadrant, I would recommend that you allow for time for fighting fires. So I once had a role that I knew I needed to allow about 10 hours a week for fighting fires. And sometimes it would be way more than that. And I'd just be like, oh, that was one of those weeks, start again next week. And other times I get change out of it. And that was awesome, because all of a sudden I'd have time freed up. So then I could go and dig into something in the, urgent and, in the not urgent and important quadrant. So if you were to look at your to-dos, you should be able to group them up and theme them up. So hopefully you don't have a huge amount in the not urgent, not important, although we all tend to have a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media. So that tends to be in this quadrant for most people. You've got stuff that you can delegate or systemize or find a better way, or just try and avoid it. Or another tip is just to chunk it up once a month. That's the little bits and pieces that I know will consume me, because I'll get distracted because I don't like doing it. So I'm just going to set aside an hour on a Friday to just do those. Then you've got important and not urgent. And so these are your big rocks. And this is where you need to protect your time and schedule it in. And this is where a lot of people forget that scheduling in time for planning is totally okay, totally important. It might not be customer facing or instantly revenue generating, but is one of the really important levers that ensures you've got a sustainable business. So what we'd encourage you to do, and you'll get this through in your resources afterwards, is where do you spend most of your time at the moment? And what do you think you could do to change that? And hopefully we've got a fillable version of this with those examples in there. Hopefully by creating it yourself, you'll really sort of start to, feel that come to life. Robin, is there anything you'd add to this? Because I know you're a bit of a fan of this quadrant. Is there anything you'd sort of chime in with on here?
The only thing I would chime in with is how important and how life-changing it is just to be aware, even if you're not actually formalizing that by writing things down into quadrants, but actually just being aware of those things that you are doing that are neither urgent nor important. Because they're non-urgent and non-important, they probably come under that, but they're easy category. So we'll like to fill up our time with it. And also the urgent and important, I can tend to put a lot of things into that quadrant. And so, spend a lot of time doing that sort of thing because I've misplaced the importance. I'm thinking it's really important that I reply to emails within a certain amount of time, whereas a lot of them could wait, or it's actually not that important. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just doing the exercise is absolutely has changed the way that I will go through my work for the day.
Yeah. Awesome. Nice. Yeah. And it is so true. That's a really important point that you've made around how do you value importance. And this is why strategic planning has such a place in running a business, right? And so we won't go into that now. That's a huge part of the basis of our programs. But suffice to say, if you're doing it with us, if you're doing it by yourself, do some planning, do some strategic planning, know what it is that is actually important in your business, which enables this. So now we're going to jump into, Robin kindly alluded to it earlier, is let's be really real about how long things actually take. And I've kind of, you might be able to work out, I've sort of themed up some of these. Now, I don't know about you, but for a long time, I really thought unpacking the dishwasher or hanging out a load of washing actually took quite a long time. So I'd be like, I'd walk around the pile as it came out of the washing machine, be like, don't have time to do you. Or the dishwasher's full, oh, I don't have time, I'll just grab a teaspoon and make a cup of tea and I'll deal with that later. So what I did, and I actually picked this up, this is a Gretchen Rubin hack from her podcast, was I actually timed myself. And it takes me about 3 minutes to unpack the dishwasher, depending on how full the load is, and not much more than that to hang out a load of washing. And I decided I didn't like being an adult that day because I kept waiting for the fairy godmother to swoop on in to save me hours of my life. And turns out I got 10 minutes back. So all of that to say, when you actually sit down and watch how long it takes you, there are some things that take more time. And then there's others that we have in our brain that actually take a whole lot longer. So for example, reviewing your revenue projections. That is a really important part of business planning. And then we think it's going to take a really long time. I bet if you set a timer on yourself and you had everything set up and you actually watched what you did, it's not actually going to take that long to do. It's the thinking about it and wanting to avoid it and perhaps not having a good system and being a little bit scared of it. That's all the stuff that we have around it, that things we justify by saying it's going to take longer. So this is just a little bit of a bullshit exercise, really. And that's why I've got this quote in here. It's not enough to be busy. So are the ants. What are we busy about? And so I guess my challenge to you is, if you were wanting to be courageous, is remember that tasks will expand to the time allowed. And so if you give yourself a whole afternoon to hang out a load of washing, it'll take that long. But equally, if you were going to try and create a 90-day plan in an hour, you could probably do a pretty good job of giving it a good first draft or a solid nudge. So that's sort of just a little bit of a, if you analyze your time and you're really real with yourself, this helps remove some of the noise in your brain that can distract you from planning your week. And this, we've borrowed this concept from a few people. So there's the books 168 Hours, Indistractable, and Live Better, Work Smarter. They're by some very smart people. So if you're a fan of reading, go and get into those. But essentially, all of those authors suggest that time analysis is a real enabler, and it's one of those things you've got to plan to do it. So people don't like doing it. But I've coached heaps of people, and this is the only thing that we've done And all of a sudden, after a week of doing it, they are so bored of watching what they do with their time that they start using it a whole lot better. And I'm not suggesting that you do it for a whole week. I'm not suggesting you start being billable hours lawyer and doing it in 15-minute increments. Just doing this exercise to just be really honest with yourself about how long stuff takes, having a little bit of curiosity. Maybe you scribble down some times next to the tasks as you're, working through your Eisenhower matrix. But just doing that will enable you to plan subsequent weeks a whole lot better. Any questions, Robin? Is there anything that I've sort of over-explained or under-explained in that one?
No, but I would just add to that, because I think we're alluding to the point of procrastination is, to me, one of the biggest features of having difficulty in time management. It's that we procrastinate, and so much time is spent on that. So I think
it's its own task.
It is its own task. And often I will put off something because it's going to take too much time. But really, that time is my procrastination time. So what I have started to do to stop me procrastinating is actually just setting time to start something. Because once I've started something,
awesome,
I'm pretty much right. Even if that thing is going to take 3 hours, I'll go, I'm just going to spend 1 hour starting it. Yes. And that's enough to get the ball rolling.
Because then the ball's rolling, right? And so the rolling ball doesn't catch the moss. And there's so much power in just starting. And then what I always continually surprise myself with is how much I get done by just starting.
Exactly.
I'm like, crumbs, look at that. I spent 40 minutes and I actually probably got half of it done. Or, I'm going to need 2 hours for that next week, now that I know how long it took me to do that. Cool. All right. So now let's share one of your favorites, the Pomodoro, because this, I think, really, right, Robin, this really builds on the being real when you know how long stuff takes. So in a nutshell, Pomodoro is a really cool way of chunking up your time, really getting in and blitzing it. And then you step out and have a break. And the have a break is probably the most powerful part of a Pomodoro. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick your time block. Now, we're human beings and none of us have the capacity to run for any task longer than 90 minutes in general. You might be some kind of amazing person that can, but in general, how our bodies work, our brains work, 90 minutes is our maximum. I would say, based on watching most people I've coached through the years, start with 20 minutes, because you'll be amazed at how quickly you'll think 3 minutes is forever. And then all of a sudden you can check it up. So you pick your time block. Let's say you're going to go 20 minutes. You set your timer. You pick your task that you're going to do. You do the work. And then you step away. Does not matter where you're at. Doesn't matter if you're halfway through a sentence or a full stop. Your timer dings, you step away. And you choose your break method. It might be 10 deep breaths. It might be the cup of tea. It might be hanging out the washing. Robin, what are some of yours? Because I know you love Pomodoro.
I do love Pomodoro, and I actually use it for a lot of the what I call the important and urgent ones. And my example for that is, so I've got a number of businesses on the go all at one time with a whole lot of different emails. And so part of my day needs to be going through those emails. But I can either do it in 25 minutes, or I can take 2 hours to do it, because I will read newsletters, junk, the advertising from Witchery. And I can actually make it span all day if I want, because there's so many of it, and I file everything.
And then if you're really good, you'll get in a back and forth, right? And then you'll get in a back and forth, and so 6 emails have gone past, and that's your 2 hours down the toilet because you got in a back and forth. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what I do now is I put in my Pomodoro, I use a Pomodoro tracker. I put check emails as one of my first ones for the day. It's allowed 25 minutes is when the timer starts. And I just absolutely go for it on checking the emails. I write down to-dos from the emails rather than to doing it right then and there. and I have it blitzed in 25 minutes. Whereas, as I said, it used to take me hours. Then I have to go back and do the to-dos, but I will use the Pomodoro tracker for all those things as well. And I'll say 25 minutes to do my A's on my to-do list, and they're the urgent, and
because I think sometimes that whole email thing can be, it's either a badge of honor or its own procrastination tool, right? Because we see emails and we're like, oh God, there's all the stuff. But by doing it how you're using it, you're actually quantifying and qualifying what all the stuff is. So you can then make that accurate time estimate to then chunk up the rest of your day or your week. Yeah. I think we've probably got time. Shall I stop sharing so you can share yours and show everybody the Pomodoro tracker if you've got it on the go? Because I just think you've found a tool that really works. So let's share it.
Except that I haven't got the share screen.
There you go. Try that
now. Come up.
So while we're awkwardly stalling for time, if anyone's got any questions around this, let us know. But yeah, here we go.
So can you see that there? So so the URL for that, and it's one of the easy ones because it's not kind of caught up in any other to-do apps. So it's pomodoro-tracker.com.
Nice.
So as you can see there, I've got on the top of the list, A's on to-do list, and you just push start. It goes through, it gives you a wonderful dinger at the end of it, because some of us are like Pavlov's dogs and kind of work well to dings and different sounds like that.
True.
And then at the end of the 25 minutes, for I think 3 of them, it'll give you only a 3-minute break, but that's enough time to go breathe. And then every hour it gives you a 10-minute break, I think. So that's a great. It's a really
awesome
cool.
So that's a really purist Pomodoro technique, but it works sort of 20-25 minutes, an hour, and I think that's one of the powers of our power hour that we offer as part of working with us. Is we have a Monday slot and an afternoon, that post-lunch slump that would be so easy to just cup of tea, scroll, and we kind of all come together, right? And you've got that hour of just accountability, share what you're going to do, and that in itself, we've seen that that's a real game changer. We love it ourselves, and we see that our clients really love it. So Pomodoro. Right, next one is one of those. If you were going to put in your Eisenhower matrix, this is important but not urgent. And it's amazing how little we do this in terms of reviewing. Now, you could get to a point that you review every day. I'd recommend for people who've never done any review before, in terms of, how did my week go? I would start with weekly, and knowing yourself, pick the day that works for you. Personally, I love the satisfaction of finishing up a Friday. What I have is I have a little calendar entry that says review time, and it's got some questions. And so I open it up and I answer my questions, and then I do a total close down. And for me, it's a beautiful full stop on the week. And I say goodbye to it for the weekend. I don't think about it. And then I know when I start on Monday, I'm coming at it really fresh. I know for other people, they love a Sunday afternoon review. They really love setting up their week for success. It means that they get a really lovely deep sleep on a Sunday night and they feel really charged. Other people love it on a Monday, and we all have different shapes to our week, right? So if your week's Monday to Wednesday, do it whenever. So what I would also say here is start with positive. We're humans, our brains are, they are literally wired to find negative. It kept us safe, it evolved us as a species, but we've not got saber-toothed tigers. So let's celebrate the things that we've done really well. So building in some questions that are really positive. You'll see in the resources you get as part of the session, we've provided you with some starting questions that hopefully will help give you that prod to think positive first. And so there is power in writing this, because I won't get into the details, but something about the act of writing does something with the neurons in your brain. They fire good, they wire good, you look for more, you want to do it again. As you get really refined at this, you'll be able to do it in your brain, But there is some real satisfaction in actually writing it down and being like, oh, I actually got more done than I was giving myself credit for. And I think that's oftentimes the power of review, is it reminds us of actually just how effective we have been, even if effective to start with is one or two things. It's a really amazing foundation to build on. And then you get your positive upward spiral. So yeah, I just think this is one of those, really start small, but just a little bit of it should give you a taster, and then you'll keep wanting to come back for more. Robin, is there anything that you'd add from a review perspective?
I think as you were going through this one, I identified that this is something I don't do well. So
which is sometimes a really good thing to share.
Yeah. And so I turned to my to-do list and I wrote down Friday review calendar entry, because I am going to start doing that. And then it led me to thinking, I believe that every Friday afternoon, when my husband gets home from work, he'll say, how did your day go? My natural response is, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to do. And
yes,
probably he gets it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well. But and that is because, as you say, my brain is wired to think of all those things I didn't do, and yet there were probably a lot of really good things that I did do. Yes. But I don't focus on that. So I'm sure that if I had a calendar entry, I'll start weekly on the Friday. So one day he'll get, oh, actually, no, it was a really good week because I got all these things done. So
yeah,
totally agree with that.
That is so true. And I think particularly, like, if anything over the last 2 years has taught us, is there are shitstorm weeks, like for me, the kids, the daycare, the call, and you're like, oh, and my default is, there goes my productivity, as opposed to like, cool, I've still got a healthy child and my primary focus in life is to take care of those kids, right? Your default programming is negative. And so what it does remind you is that even if you did one thing, it's still one thing. I have a friend in her really early stages of business growth, and she was doing the juggle with the kids and all the things. And I was like, just do one thing a day on business. And in a year's time, it was amazing how much progress. And I think sometimes we can undervalue the power of the incremental progress over big leaps. And then we're not making time for big leaps. But anyway, I'll go down a whole rabbit hole. So suffice to say, review time is really powerful. You'll get in your resources some questions as starters, but we would love if you guys have got anything that's great that we can add to our question library. Please chime in or reply on the email and let us know, because we would love to hear what review systems work for you. Right, now this is a big favorite of mine, and what I have seen is when I've been coaching people across the years, the tabs in the brain add to the mental load, that add to the waking up at 3 a.m. and the sense of, oh my God, I need to go to sleep because I need all the energy because I've got to get all the stuff done tomorrow. Oh my God, I've got all those things to do tomorrow. Oh my God. And then repeat. Logging off completely is a really powerful way to signal to your brain, your to-do list, your nervous system that you're done with work. And you could have worked for an hour, or you could have worked for 15 hours. Logging off is the thing that most IT teams will tell you to do in order that your computer can get its, updates. There's a signal in that. We also need that so we can get our updates. But it lessens the chatter. And what I would say is add in, if you can, another signal, especially if you work from home. And I know a lot of people watching this, you're like us, you're in solopreneur mode, you're tucked into, the alcove or the corner office in your home, rather than having that distance of a commute or a walk to work. Can you get changed? Can you have a delineation of home to work? Is it shutting the door? Is it closing the laptop? Is it 10 deep breaths? Is it going for a run? Is it walking the dog? What might work for you? And finding that. And that will just really help signal that you've done enough, and then it can wait till tomorrow. And this one is so much easier said than done. And it really is a power of practice thing. Robin, is there anything that you'd add in this one?
My addition is similar to the last one, where this is also something I'm not very good at, and you have probably made that aware of. One, I'm not shutting down my computer so it gets its update, so that will be one that I will do for a start. And yeah, I'm not good at that. Often I will go, no, I'll stop for dinner and then I'll do some more, whereas I should. And often 9 times out of 10 I don't actually do anymore. So I've shut down, I've stopped for dinner, and then I don't bother coming back, because obviously what I was wanting to do wasn't that important anyway. So so this is another one for my list, is that I'm going to do this better.
We did not run this session, folks, so that Robin could get more items to do this. It's just been an unintended consequence. I think that what you've alluded to, there's a really solid point here, that our weeks are all really different, and I have a very physical reason to not log back on. Like witching hour kicks in. I've got 3 kids under 5, right? Like shit literally hits the fan and it's all sorts of chaos. So I can't log back on, like, and my brain does not work. I am not a night owl. Robin, you are a night owl, right? And so this is the whole thing we could go down about knowing your chronotype, because that's really helpful in terms of being more effective. But you have the space in your life because of where you're at in your journey. And so it's easy to let work creep. I have really solid boundaries because my kids put those up for me. And so I think that's a really important point for all of you, you know, watching this, is be really mindful of your own ecosystem, because it's different than ours. And so, you know, like, honor that. That's important too. And that's why there's not one size fits all to being more effective. You know, we can't all have a 5 a.m. miracle morning. If I did that, I'd just be a zombie. My kids might like a 5 a.m. miracle morning, especially if it involves Peppa Pig. But yeah, I think this, and our little bonus hack, as I've recently discovered in the latest Chrome update, if you use Chrome as a browser, in your settings, instead of it opening to Google when you open it the first time, you can do open all the tabs I had open. And so you can use this in 2 ways, which is, one, it saves your tabs, because this is what I used to do, is I used to not do it, because I'd be like, oh, but I need to go back to that article because I'm writing a blog and I want to reference that article, and then I need to do the thing because I don't have a system for it, right? So it opens up all your tabs. So you could use it that way, which is all the stuff you know you want to get to, or, which I have pointed out to me from someone, you can use it to plan tomorrow. So literally now I open my Chrome and I have pre-planned what opens up, what tabs. And so it sets the tone for my day. So there you go, little bonus hack. There's a bonus. Here you go. So here's our final bonus. And this kind of alludes to, I think, what Robin was talking about procrastination as its own task. Worrying is its own task. And I came across a study yonks ago, but it's from some very clever positive psychologist folks. And they did a study where they literally allowed students 30 minutes of day worry time. And so if your brain picks up on a worry, you literally go, no, I can look at that at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. is my worry time o'clock, or whenever time you pick. And what the study proved is that actually by the time you get to worrying about it, it's no longer a worry. Go figure. And that the time you need to worry when you're not ruminating, when you're not in cycle mode, is actually quite short, because the space reduces the actual worry. And so then by giving it time, it helps you really shine a light on what shape your worry is taking, so you can make more systemic shifts to how you're approaching worry. And it adds in that pause. So by adding in the pause, it means by the time you get to the worry, you typically will find a solution more quickly than because you were in nervous system fried mode, worry, rumination spiral. And what I'd say here is I had an amazing mentor in my early 20s, and he literally had previously run prisons where there'd be a prison riot. This is in South Africa, there'd be a prison riot and people would die on his watch. And I was in, an early HR, role in the hamster wheel. And he would say to me, Alana, as he was leaving in the much more senior role and I was still there being busy beaver, Alana, no one's going to die on your watch. Log off, go home. And I think sometimes those of us that aren't surgeons or aren't, very few of us have roles, businesses where someone could die on our watch. And so I would just say, if you can do that, move your worry over into the corner and look at it when time's due. You'll find out that it's not so life or death. So that's our bonus. Robin, anything you'd add to the worry time or the,
just the thing I would add
that we get into?
What I would add to that worry time is I think a lot of us have already built in our worry time inadvertently, and wrongly we've built in that worry time to as we're going to sleep. I think I don't think I'm unusual in that. Is so true. During the day there's other things on, try not to worry too much, lie down to go to sleep, and then I'll start thinking about those worries. And just wanted to say that is not a good time to build in your worry time. So I'm going to, also on my list, is shift my worry time. I was actually just sitting there thinking, what is a good time for my worry time? 2 p.m., 3 p.m. But yeah, I know, I think that is a great idea. And I think I could probably get that worry time done in 15 to 20 minutes.
I love it. Yeah.
If not a shorter time. So
yeah. Very good point. I love that. Yeah. Let's not have worry time just before we hit the pillow, because that is just going to not be fun. We need the sleep to be awesome the next day. So that's us at the sort of the wrap up of the bones of the session. We will just share a little bit around, if you've loved it, we would love to keep working with you. Equally, it's really important for us at Your Success Team that this information is readily available and accessible. So you'll always find that we've got cool freebie stuff circulating, whether it's blogs or workshops, emails, snippets, all of that. If that's as far as you work with us, thank you so much. We've loved it. But if you would like to see more of us in action, it's so much cooler behind the paywall, for want of a better term. And there's 3 ways that you can work with us that might be appealing to you short term. So we've got the Success Circle, which is our step-by-step group program. It's sort of like a month by month, let's add a new skill, resource, coach you through that as a group. Really, really powerful and designed for those of you who don't have time to do it all in one go. It's super duper affordable. It's $100 a month, cancel any time, or you can choose to upgrade for an annual membership. It's got a really lovely discount in it, and you get a complimentary one-on-one with either Robin or myself to just make sure you really get the most of it. Within that, and then any of our programs, you also get that Monday co-working session that we mentioned. That's really, really powerful. And then fortnightly, we also have an Ask an Expert session. So that's come and pick our brains. If stuff's a hot topic, we'll pull in one of our experts from our wider business ecosystem to answer those questions for our clients. So that's a Success Circle. We've got 2 group programs that are level up intensives. And so depending on where you're at, you're either solopreneur or you're running a team, one of these will be a better natural fit. So the bones of it is the squad is an 8-week intensive. It's like espresso for your business. Why is it 8 weeks? Because if it took longer, you probably would procrastinate on it and it wouldn't be as effective. So it's 8 weeks. We'll hit you hard, start big picture, work across your strategy, your vision, your why, your purpose, so that your procrastination doesn't kick in so easily. You're really clear on what you're doing. We help you understand all the really important fundamental pillars of business. So your finances, your customer, your sales and marketing mix. And then a bit more like this, we go really deep in how you need to structure your operating rhythm to make those things happen and what your goals want to look like. The Success Boss is the same thing, but with a layer of how do you translate that to your team, and then how do you support them across their employee life cycle? How do you find the right people, onboard them in the right way, retain them so that they're awesome, and then make your team really high performing? We have a couple of amazing experts in this space who we deliver the program with. And that is a 6-month intensive because of the nature of the work. So it's fortnightly. And with both of those programs, when you finish the intensive, and this is where we've found for our clients the real power kicks in, you come back every month with us, and we're helping you through the implementation phase of what it is that you've learned. So it's incredible value because we deliver it group based. They're really, really affordable. And some of you will be eligible for, there's some regional business partner funding for New Zealand-based businesses who are GST registered with less than 50 staff. So if that's you and you'd like to find out, there's some 50% funding that you might be eligible for. So just hit reply when you get the information, and let us know. All of this information will be in what you get out. So if you've got any questions, just let us know. And if you're not sure, just let us know. We can jump on a video call and natter through. So let's leave you with this thought, which is, yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today. Let us begin. So that's a very lovely, wonderful way to end the session. The wise words of Mother Teresa. And thank you so much for spending some time working on your relationship with time. We hope it's been really powerful for you. Thank you so much for doing some work to make yourself more effective. And we will see you next time.